crafty friends, and welcome to Make It Monday. I'm Trina Whittyhunter. I'm going to show you today how I've made this cute unicorn shaker window card. It's got shaker elements inside. You can see all the sequins and beads. And so we're going to go through step by step how I've colored in these designs and then how I've assembled my shaker card. So this is featuring our new print cut color design that has a cloud and rainbow frame. We've got a couple of unicorns there and extra elements that we can use to decorate a card, or you can use these on a scrapbook project or any other projects that you'd like to do. So we're going to get started with our creation station today. Let's go. Now you'll see here that I have actually two sheets that are brand new in the series. We've got the one that we're using today, which is our clouds with the unicorns, and I also have this awesome little cave, a treasure cave, and I've got a couple of dragons there. We've got little rock pieces and some bits that you could have pop up behind this here, sort of ones hanging from the ceiling or popping up from the floor. So I'm going to be showing how I've used this design very soon, so keep an eye out for that coming. So I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending on my panel. I have my 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 inch panel here, and I'm going to take one of my cloud stencils. Now I'm going to have a landscape card, so I need to make sure I've got it going in the right direction. I'm going to gently put down one of these stencils, and I just want to add a little bit of ink here. I don't want to put too much on. I want it to sort of be softer. And then I can move my stencil along to just create those nice little clouds. Now I'm going to twist my stencil so I get a little bit different cloud formation. And I'm just gently flicking that, blend that out a bit, just so I've got some cute little cloud designs there. You just move your stencil along, twist them around if you want to get the cloud shapes that you want. Bring in my second stencil. I just like that they have different cloud shapes. And you can see by not dabbing on and re-inking, I can get a softer amount of ink flowing here. And we'll just twist around, do one more. Okay, dab a little bit just to get a bit more ink. And there's our little inky cloud background. So I can close up my ink and move that away. And I'll be able to see what that looks like in the back of my window. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. The Distress Oxide inks can take just a little while to dry off. And so we'll just put that off to the side while we get on to our colouring. Okay, so I've got my colouring sheet here. I'm going to be doing my rainbow and my clouds, and then I'll cut this sheet out on my Cricut machine once I've done my colouring. I'm not going to colour the whole sheet, but I'll definitely be doing the elements that I'm using on my card. So I like to use, for my cloud and my unicorn, this pale blue. It's called BG11 Moon White, and it's a Copic colour. You've probably got something really light in your stash as well that you could use that's similar. So I'm just going to colour my little clouds, and I like to use the brush tip and just gently do a sweeping motion on my clouds, so just to help them look nice and puffy. So we'll just add a little bit, and you can see it doesn't take long to just swish along. You don't have to sort of worry about making them too precise. Unless you want to, you can colour them the way you want, but I just give a nice little flick here and there with my Copic marker. And it just adds a little bit of a softness for those puffy clouds. Now I'm going to turn my sheet around and work on my unicorn. So for my unicorn here, I've got my example one here. So I'm just going to use the brush marker again and just create some little shadows. I like to go around the edge of the face and under the neck and under the hair, coming around under the hair here, and then underneath the body, under the tummy and under the front legs, you would have a bit of shadow as it falls away from you. This hind leg, I'm going to add shadows there as well. And then just add a little bit down the sides of the legs, and you can just add color where you want under that hind to give it a bit of shape, and then across the back and down. So basically I'm just going around the outside really, and then just seeing where does the hair fall. Would I want to add some little shadows there? Okay, and I'll add a bit on the actual hair as well. I'm going to come in with another color just to add a bit of depth and define it a little bit more. So just add a few little flicks here on the tail, and that just gives our unicorn body some color. Now my cardstock, I've printed onto a smooth white digital cardstock, so that gives me a really nice finish, and so it's not super absorbent, but it will soak in a little bit of that alcohol ink, absorb it into the paper, and then it's going to sort of dry out. The alcohol part of the marker will dry out and you get a nice smooth finish. So I've got this 68 turquoise blue, and it has a brush marker as well and a fine tip end. I might use the fine tip end for this just to add a little bit of definition around the mane, the hair and the tail. And this looks kind of a little bit darker, but it will dry out a little bit as the paper soaks it in, and it will soften. And so I'm just adding a little bit at the bottom of the hair there, and then a little bit on the tail around the edge of the body, flicking underneath, and then working up that back of that tail. So that just that little touch of color just adds a little bit more depth. Now once your pens have dried off a little bit, if you want to, you can always come in and build up another layer just to add a few more shadows or a little bit of depth of color. So if you're not happy with how it's faded out, then just add a little bit more. And you can see I'm just adding a little bit more here and there, not completely filling in, because I do want to have some softer tones. So that's our body done. So I'm going to come in with what is the lightest color and just go over the unicorn's horn and the hooves. Just cover them in. It doesn't take long. I like to outline and then fill in most of the time. And then I'm going to take my slightly darker shade and add a little bit of shadows. So for me, I'm going up underneath that hair that comes onto the hoof, and then just down the side. Again, under the hairline, and then you can flick out to add a little bit of shadow under the hairline. Behind the foot would have shadows. Again, under the hairline. And that side of the hoof is under the body, so you'd have shadows there. And then I like to just go and put a little bit of a line under those crossover parts there, and that's our unicorn done. So now we're going to move on to our clouds. I'm going to turn this landscape and I'm going to work on my clouds and my rainbow. I'll do my rainbow first and then come back with the clouds to finish. So you can see here I've kind of, you could do it single tone, but I've chosen a light and dark of each color that I wanted to use. So I've got some reds, orange, yellow, green, blue. I've got a lavender blend. The good thing about the tri-blend marker is you've got 3 shades, so a light, medium and dark, all in one pen. And so I've just got one each of those in the lavender and the bright pink blend to finish out my rainbow. So I'm going to start with the reds. I've got a number 13 scarlet and a 4 vivid red, so it's sort of a lighter and darker shade. So I'm just going to color in the red stripe that I want. And you can color these rainbows however you like. You might want to stick to pastel shades. I'm not going right in the corners because I'm coming back with that darker color anyway. And I'm just going to fill this in. And you can see I'm using the small end rather than the brush end, just so that I can get in these smaller areas. So now I can build up the strength of color, and then I like to flick out so that it sort of softens the color as it goes. So we are covering up a bunch of the base color. If you like to blend it a lot smoother, you can always come back with the original color and just give it another little blast, and that makes the transition from light to dark sort of a little bit softer and more gradual. Now I'm going to come in with my orange and do the same thing. Just lay down the lightest color. Now I've just gone over the edge with my bright pink, so I just want to soften that back a little bit with my colorless marker. Okay, now for my clouds, I'm using 135 Pale Cherry Pink. And so I'm going to use the brush marker. Actually, I'll start with filling in this part with my little small end. I'm just going to use a sweeping motion with the brush end. Don't have to be too precise with these clouds. Just want to softly have this cloud shape. And this color will dry and soften and get a little bit lighter as it goes. It sort of looks a bit like a dirty pink right now, but it will soften up. And you can just add a few little puffiness bits to these clouds with your marker. And that's our cloud's done. So that's the colouring I'm going to do for that. I just have to do my little greeting here. So again, I'm going to come in with the moon white, and I like to just add a little bit around the bubble. Not colouring the whole thing, but just adding a little bit here and there. And then I'm just going to choose some of the colours that I've used on my rainbow, probably going with the lighter ones, and just filling in each of those letters, following the rainbow. Okay, so that's our greeting done. Now I'm going to go and put this onto a Cricut mat and run it through my cutting machine, and I'll bring it back and show you what it's like once it's all cut and we're ready to peel it off the sheet. So here we are. I've cut out my mat using my Cricut machine. I'm going to peel this away, leaving behind my images onto the Cricut mat so I can throw that away. And then when I remove my frame, I like to just gently bend my Cricut mat so that it comes off nice and easy. Now this Cricut mat I've used quite a lot, so it's not as sticky and aggressive, so my images come off nice and easy. If you've got a new mat, it might take a little bit more being careful to peel them off. I'm just going to peel off my clouds, and so just gently bending it will help lift those images so that you can take them off. I'm going to remove these other ones that I can use for another card. So I'm ready to put my frame together. There are two things I could do. I could either put foam around the outside here and then add this onto the top after I've put my acetate sheet on. But I'm going to actually put the acetate on the back of my frame, turn that over and make my window, and then put this on at the end. So first I'm going to adhere these together. I'm just going to use some double-sided tape. So I've got my tape gun here, which will allow me to just add some double-sided tape around the frame. Just roll those little bits off the edges back in, just so I don't have any little bits of sticky hanging out. And now I can bring my acetate and just pop that into place, rub that down. So from the front, you can see that I've got my little window there. Now I'm going to use my roll of foam tape and just choose one that is going to give you some clearance. So you can see this part here is my narrowest part, and if I hold my foam on there, I can see that it's going to go along there without hanging out over the edge. So I'm just going to go to the edge of where I want it to be. Just bring in my little scissors. Usually I tear this foam tape, but because I want to make a window, I want to try and get the edges nice and clean. Now I need my foam to really butt up to that last one, so that it's going to hold in all my little shaker element pieces. So as I come to this edge, I'm just peeling back a little bit so I can trim it so it doesn't go right to the very edge. I'll turn this around and then get that into the corner. And I'm just coming back from the edge a little bit, not going right to the very edge. You can if you want to, but I like to give a little bit of wiggle room. And so we've got one more just to close up that frame. This end is a little bit ugly because I'd started with a torn piece. Probably should have trimmed that first. And then just nest that in there. Make sure it's going to be close to the edge, and then trim it, and hopefully you don't have a gap. Okay. So you can see that all of my corners are pretty well meeting up nicely. I don't think anything can get out of there. Okay, now I've got my little anti-static pouch. I'm just going to gently rub that in along the edges of my foam and just across the window, just to take the static out. And I've got my bin off to the side here. I'm just going to shake this out, giving it a little tap so that any loose powder, I don't really want a whole lot of loose powder in there. So I've got this ready. It's like a little well, and now I can put my shaker elements inside, and then we'll close up with this panel. So we're just going to put a few of these in there, just scatter them around. And you don't want to overfill your window. Sometimes you can stuff it with too many shaker pieces, but then at the same time you don't want it to be too sparse and not have any shaker elements. Sometimes you can, like I think my last one, I probably could have been a little more generous. So this time I'm going to put a few more of my sequins and things in than what I did last time, and I'll just sort of want to flatten those out a little bit so that I know it's not going to be too bulky. And then I'll just add a few little gems, maybe a few more. Grab the ones that escaped. Okay, now the way I like to put this together, I've got my foam. This is one of the good things about the foam, and I like to peel just a little bit of this release paper back and tuck it out to the side like a little bit of a wing. I'm going to tuck that out there, and this will just help me to put my my backing on there without it grabbing on straight away. It gives me a minute to sort of line it up without it grabbing on to the exposed sticky. Now, oh, I need to check. I'm going to turn it this way so I can see my rainbow is at the top there. I want to make sure I don't put my clouds on upside down. So if I'm going this way, that's what my card would look like if I flipped it over. So I want my clouds going the right way, and hopefully this is all good. And then I'm going to stick it down. I can put it down, and the tape is actually holding it up. My release paper is holding it. It's not sticking yet. So that gives me a moment just to sort of look at it and see, does it look like it's sort of lined up nice and straight? And then I can gently push it down, and it's going to tack into place on the parts where the adhesive is exposed. Now I can get those tails and gently pull them out the side and then press that into place. Okay, that one, my release tape has torn, so I have to get in under here with my tweezers and just peel out the rest of the paper that's holding that sticky. Okay, so you just want to go easy with your release paper so that you don't tear it and then you kind of have some parts that are not going to stick. Okay, so that's come out good. So if I press that all down, it should close in. I've got a sealed shaker window now. Oh, that's nice. See, I've put a lot more shaker elements than this other one. So you can see tons of shaker pieces in there. I really like that with the clouds in the back. Like, this one is still really pretty, but I think this is really nice. And you'll see that as I stand up my card, they're going to settle to the bottom, but I've got a lot more pretties in there. Love it. Okay, now I'm going to adhere this whole panel onto my base card because I want it to be able to have some space that I can write in it, and then it can stand up for display. Now you could just give it as just a card like this and write on the back, but I'm going to mount it onto this, and you can see that when I place it down, I've got a little bit of a border. So on this one, you'll see it's got a little bit of a border here. If you wanted to, you could have a contrasting card on the back, maybe a soft pink card or a pale blue card, just so that it stands out and frames it more. I like the white on white. So I'm going to bring in my liquid adhesive, and because I want a really nice strong hold for this panel to my card, I'll just add that glue, and I can turn it over and just stick that. And the good thing with the liquid is I can slide it around if I need to, if it's not quite straight. Slide it into place, and perhaps you want to turn it over and just give it a gentle rub. You could even open your card and do that, just to make sure that they've stuck down nicely. I'm really happy with that panel. I think that looks really cute. Okay, so now all we need to do is add our extra elements. We've got our greetings. Now it's up to you where you want to put your things. Go for it. I'm just going to add a little bit of foam onto some of my greetings. I like to pop them up because you can see here my clouds look like they're floating because they're standing up with the foam that I have on there, and it naturally casts a shadow, which makes it look a little more 3D. So I love that. So I'm just going to put a bit of foam on here, peel the backing off, and just pop that into the lower corner. Now I've got a few clouds here. I'll just see which ones I had used. These two smaller ones, and this little mini one, and then the longer one for this card. So I've got these left over I could use on another project, and then of course our unicorn's going to go there. So I'll just quickly add some foam onto the back of these, and then we can finish the assembly of our card. So here we are, we're down to our very last little cloud. This is the last piece we need to put onto our card, and then we're completed. So we'll just nest this down here in the bottom. And there we go, we have our beautiful shaker card. I love those clouds in the background. I think it just adds a little bit of extra. And I like that I've got a lot more elements in there now. What a cute, fun card. So I hope that you get a chance to download this file and try this out. If you've got a Cricut machine or a Silhouette or a cutting machine, you can use it to cut out your designs and make a cute little window card. So here we are with our finished card. I've got the original one without the clouds, but I love the sponge clouds in the background, and that I've put a lot more shaker elements inside of it. So in the description below, we're going to have links directly to this design in our storefront if you'd like to purchase this download so that you can print it and use your cutting machine and make your own version of this card. Now, if you don't have a cutting machine, you can still download our files and print them, color them in, and then you can use a pair of scissors or your paper trimmer if you want to trim around the frame. You can use those to cut the sheet out. But if you do have a machine, it just makes it a lot quicker and easier. You just load it onto your mat and it'll cut perfectly for you, and it's really nice if you want to make a bunch of them. They all come out perfect. Now, the way that you can save on our designs is if you join our monthly subscription plan. So you would pay one monthly fee, and that gives you access to download all of our designs. We have hundreds and hundreds of designs in our library, and as an exclusive perk for subscribers, we also have video classes hosted on our website. So you can log into your account, watch those videos, and I share tips and tricks. There's all sorts of projects in there, and I'll be adding more to that as well. The other great thing about our digital resources in our library, I'm adding new designs all the time. So you still just pay your small monthly fee, and all my new designs, you get to download those when they're available on the website as well. So it's a really great way to save and give you tons of access to lots of cool project things. Okay, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, happy crafting.